everyone, my name is Garrett and I am the founder of Ambition in Motion, and I'm so excited, I'm so grateful to have you here for our first workshop. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so glad that you've decided to invest in yourself to build a mentoring relationship with someone from your organization so then you can help amplify your own career prospects and opportunities to really help take your career to the next level. I'm really excited for you and what you're going to accomplish over these next 4 months. So during this video, I just wanted to give you an overview of what to expect for the program and how to prep for this upcoming workshop. Now, this workshop's title is called Transitioning into a Managerial Role. So maybe you're in your career and maybe you're about to start entering into a managerial role, or maybe you've been a manager for a while, or maybe you're not a manager quite yet, but you will be. This workshop will be extremely insightful for you. You are going to learn a ton about management and how to properly manage somebody and how to not properly manage somebody. If you have any questions throughout this workshop, please post them in the comments section. So our workshops are the first one's on transitioning into a managerial role. The second one is determining when is the right time to pursue additional education, or if it's the right time to pursue additional education. The third workshop is determining when is the right time to switch jobs. And then the final workshop is on how to handle conflict in the workplace. So they're really relevant topics, and I think that you're going to really enjoy these workshops and the guest speakers that we brought in for you to learn from during these workshops. We will send you a post-program assessment to get your feedback. So this workshop is going to be roughly an hour long, and we're going to cover a lot of topics on how to transition into a managerial role. And so for you, my focus is on how can you go about making the most out of this. Really, the best way to go about making the most out of these workshops is to interact with us. When I ask a question to you, the audience viewing this, answer it, because here's the thing. I would rather you post your questions in the comment section, because if you got this question, I guarantee you somebody else in the audience does as well. So if we were to answer questions on an individual private basis, we're not really answering everybody's questions. But if you post your questions in the comment section, we can share this with everybody so then they can get their answers just like you got your answer. This program doesn't guarantee you a promotion or a new job. Really, the key is this program's for professionals who want to take their career to the next level. Like, we don't hand things out on a silver platter. Now, by the way, do these types of opportunities happen for the professionals that use this program? Absolutely. But you got to be open to it. You got to be willing to put your time in to go ahead and make the most out of this experience. If you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'm going to come in negatively or skeptically, you're going to get negative and skeptical results. I mean, it's the law of attraction. If you come in with a negative mindset, you're going to manifest a negative mindset. If you come in with a positive mindset, you're going to manifest a positive mindset. It's all about how you view this system, this workshop, this opportunity. So come in with the right idea, with the right mindset, and you can make the most out of this experience. I promise that. So I just want to set the expectation properly. This is a program that does not hand out things on a silver platter. If you work for them, you can absolutely take your career to the next level, but it's about applying them. It's about actively meeting with your mentor. It's about actively networking and actually doing what you can to make the most out of this experience. Ask questions, interact, take advantage of everything we've got for you, and you will get the opportunities you desire. I mean, that's what this program's here for. If you think like, oh, I'm going to do the bare bones minimum, I'm just going to kind of have just 3 phone calls, and we'll keep them at the minimum length of time, and I'm just going to attend the workshop, not take any notes, not really make any comments, not really talk to anybody about what I'm learning, you're gonna get those types of outcomes. That's pretty much it. So I really want to encourage you to make the most out of this program. Take advantage of it. Ask questions, participate, and interact. Treat this program as fuel. Treat this program as fuel to help you get to where you want to be. If you're already burning, going strong, going hard, this program can help you get into the next level and accelerate. If you're barely burning a fire, barely burning an ember, and you really want to rekindle that and get yourself up, take advantage of it, jump in. But if you think to yourself, you know what, I'm barely burning this ember, I'm not really trying to burn this ember, really there's nothing there, the fuel can only do so much for you. So the point I'm making is come in with an open mind and a willingness to work hard, and you can achieve what you want. I mean, have professionals use this program to gain a managerial role or negotiate a raise or build deep bonds with their colleagues or expand their networks? Absolutely. But did those outcomes come handed on a silver platter? No, they didn't. It's about how you can apply what you're learning in this workshop to make the most out of this experience. So I want to share with you a little bit about my background, because I think that helps give some context as to who I am, what we're teaching, what we've learned, and why this information is relevant. So for me, I personally needed mentors in my life. And this might sound crazy, but from age 15 to age 19, I was a drug dealer. at the end of my freshman year at Indiana University, I got arrested in an undercover operation by the Indiana University Police Department, and I got 5 felony distribution charges. I was expelled from school, and I had no idea really what I was going to do with my life. It hit my life like a brick wall. I mean, up to that point in time in life, I thought success was you go to school, you get good grades, you get a job, and then you just kind of find yourself, like as if it's puberty, it just comes and hits you. And nobody that I had ever known that I ever thought was successful ever was a drug dealer. So I either had to accepting a failure or redefine my definition of success. So I chose the latter. And it was a great decision for me. Kind of like back to the whole law of attraction thing. I opened my mind to what positively could happen from this situation as opposed to negatively. So I enrolled in a program in St. George, Utah after I got in trouble. And they exposed me to the power of mentorship, both on a personal level and a professional level. On a personal level, they were huge. I mean, they helped me come to grips with how I'd affected my family, my friends, my university, my country. I really didn't think that what I had done really would impact anybody or that anybody would care. And that was so wrong. And I really don't ever want to discount the power of personal mentors, because personal mentors can really help you make some serious just strides and have some serious growth in your life, because ultimately those personal mentors can help see you for you. And don't get me wrong, the professional mentors are amazing as well. And by the way, we can mix those two. They can both be personal and professional mentors. But I really want to stress the importance of being vulnerable in a mentoring relationship, just like I've been vulnerable with you right now sharing my story, because I know that when you're vulnerable, you're much more likely to be attractive in that relationship. You're much more likely to build trust. I mean, shoot, you can't even build trust without vulnerability. You have to have vulnerability. So when it comes to building a mentor relationship, I hope me sharing my story with you has helped inspire you to be vulnerable with your mentor and in your mentoring relationship. And just to kind of finish out my story in terms of how I actually got here from being a drug dealer who moved to St. George, Utah. About a month after living in Utah, I flew back to Chicago for the weekend to let my family know my life's getting on track. On that flight, I'm sitting next to a guy. I took a keen interest in who he is. I asked him questions. I took down notes, shared with him a little bit about me, but really I was focused on who he was and asking him questions and really learning about what he had to say, because people love to talk about themselves. I was learning that through a book I was reading called Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And by the time we landed, he said, "Oh, by the way, I'm the director of ground equipment for SkyWest Airlines." And he offered me an internship doing financial analysis on the spot. Didn't care about my background. He decided to take me under his wing and give me an opportunity, and that was so crucial. That was amazing. He didn't care that I might be going to prison sometime in the future. He didn't care really what my future looked like. He cared about me, and he wanted to give me a chance, and that was so crucial. It helped me really take some serious strides in my life and my career. About a year after living in Utah, I actually got very lucky. While I was in Utah, I started a nonprofit to help young men and women who had made poor choices with drugs and alcohol and help them get mentors too, just like I had gotten mentored by that guy at SkyWest Airlines. And the court system saw that. They ended up dropping my felonies to a misdemeanor conviction. Indiana University had decided to re-enroll me, and I started Ambition in Motion with the idea of how can I help people get connected with their careers. I mean, ultimately for me, my vision is a world where the vast majority of people, not a couple people, but the vast majority of people are excited to go to work. When they're there, their expectations meet reality, and when they come home, they feel fulfilled. I'm here to try to help you achieve that. That's all I do, is to help serve you, to get you to where you want to be in your career. Because the more satisfied you are with your career, the better of a society we live in, and the more happy society is, the better everybody's lives are. I don't know. That's just my way of trying to make an impact on the world. And, you know, if you're going through this right now as a professional and you're thinking to yourself, like, what is my impact on the world? You know, it could be anything. But I think if you're consciously aware of that and think to yourself, I want to make an impact on the world, that's a great starting point. So the point is, be vulnerable and think about your impact, especially as it pertains to your story. Now, I want to talk about 3 keys to success for this program. The 3 keys to success for this program are honing your strategy, your story, and your state. Now, I said those in reverse order of importance. Your state is number 1. Physically, what is your state? Like your physiological state. Are you like amped up? Are you ready? Are you good to go? Are you in such a good mood that you're going to take on the world? Or are you stressed out, hunched over your computer, got bad posture, not feeling great? I mean, your first impression is everything. And when you're going into your mentor meeting, or a meeting with anybody for that matter, and you're coming in with some bad body language, I can promise you, you are not going to have a good first impression, and that will kill that relationship. it is very difficult to overcome a bad first impression. So fortunately, there are some things that you can do to help you get yourself into a positive state. And they take like 30 seconds because your emotions drive your emotions. Now, you might have had the worst day in the world. And you might be thinking to yourself like, oh man, I got to meet my mentor right now. I don't know how I can do this. Here's something you can do to get yourself into a positive state. There's a lot of things you can do. You can do a power pose. You can fake smile for 30 seconds. You could fake laugh for 30 seconds. But what I like to do is I like to shake it out, and I like to dance it out, and I like to scream at the top of my lungs. So what I want you to do right now while you're watching this video, and I know it might sound crazy, you might be in your house, you might be in your office, you might be at work, I don't really care. Stand up, shake it out, shimmy it loose. Stand up. I want you to scream at the top of your lungs. Just go, yeah, just let it loose, let it out, let it go. And the reason why I'm telling you to do this is because you are releasing endorphins to your brain, getting blood flowing to your brain. What this does is it gets you into a positive mood. It takes you from wherever you're at and puts you at a 10. It gets you ready to go. And your physical body, your physiology, your body is saying, thank you. I'm ready for this. I'm ready to take on the world. Your state is crucial. So when it comes to a mentor meeting, get your state right. You're going to give a positive first impression if you get your state right. If you're screaming at work, good for you. Amazing. I'm proud of you. That's awesome. You know, people might think of you and look at you like a weirdo, but that's okay because this is not a coolness contest. This is about you making strides in your career and getting a positive first impression with your mentor and with anybody that you want to meet. Now, the second key is your story. Now, what's a story that you tell yourself? Do you tell yourself a story for why you won't be successful or for why you will be successful? I mean, your story could be, oh, well, you know, I'm an introvert, so I couldn't possibly be good at networking or putting myself out there or trying to get a raise or try to be a manager because, you know, I'm just an introvert. Or maybe you think to yourself, like, I'm an extrovert. I'm crazy around people. I can't even handle it. I'm a word vomiter. I just can't even contain myself around other people. I couldn't possibly be good at networking or in a managerial position. If you tell yourself a story for why you will not be successful, you will not be successful. But if you tell yourself a story for why you can be successful, you can manifest that outcome. If you tell yourself a story, if you literally play in your mind how a situation could go the most positive way you could possibly go, you will get yourself to where you want to be. So I want to ask you right now, and I would love if you could post in the comment section, what is a story that you tell yourself for why you will be successful? Where do you want to go? What do you want to achieve? How are you going to do that? Lay out your story of where you're going. It could be the next 3 months. It could be the next year. I don't really care. But put it out there for how you're going to be successful. Share it with the world. Share it with your community here because what that does is it empowers other people to be vulnerable and share their story as well. I'd love if you could share your story of where you want to go in the comment section. Now, the last key is your strategy. So what is the strategy that you're going to do to help you get to where you want to be? Now, this workshop is all about how to transition into a managerial role. So the strategy is going to be all about how can you go about becoming a better manager. Now, take the skills that we're teaching in this workshop with our guest speaker. Take these skills and apply them. One of the things that I love to do when it comes to strategy is to set up a routine. So what is something that you can do on a regular basis to help you reinforce this skill that you're learning in this workshop? Because if you're just here in this workshop and you're just watching this video and maybe you're taking notes, like that might stick. But if you actually teach it to somebody else, that is definitely going to stick. Exponentially, you are much more likely to remember the information that you're taught if you teach it to somebody else. So what I want you to do when it comes to strategies, I want you to take what you're learning during this workshop and I want you to apply it and teach it to somebody else. This could be a friend, it could be a stranger. I don't really care. But teach something that you learned that you thought was impactful and powerful to you. I love if you could do that because if you can, you're going to reinforce this information and this program, this workshop, this whole experience is going to be so much more powerful to you because you are reinforcing what you are learning. So the way that you can practice, find an accountability partner, teach them the skills that you are learning, something that you learned. And it could be anything, like whatever nugget of wisdom that you heard from me or from our guest, teach it to somebody else. That will help you reinforce it. Thank you all for being here. I'm really excited for you to embark on your mentor relationship. And in this mentor program, I'm really excited to get started with our guest speaker. Hey everybody, we are here for another interview to talk about how to effectively transition into management. So you're here, you're thinking to yourself, okay, I am starting this first role, I'm getting into my career, I am in the early days of my career, let's just say, and I'm probably thinking to myself, how do I get to the next level? And some people might think to themselves, oh, I want to get to the next level so I can get paid and drive a nice car and all the fancy things. But more often than not, you're neglecting this key component to getting to the next level of leadership, which is actually leading other people. And so I've got a great guest with us here today. I've got Chris Hammond here to talk about his experiences in terms of getting to the next level and just elevating his own leadership experience. Chris, thanks for being here.
No problem. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
So Chris, I'd love to kick it off. I think, I kind of alluded to a little bit of it, but what are some of the biggest mistakes newly promoted managers make when leading people?
Sure. One of the first items is, as you kind of indicated, is making the transition from doer or individual contributor to leading people. So the skills that you needed or that you utilized to help you be a great doer or great individual contributor aren't necessarily the same skills you need to lead people. A very good book is What Got You Here Won't Get You There. For those of you, go check it out. It talks about those particular skills that would be needed. Another mistake I see new managers make is the belief that they have to manage everyone the same. And they tend to not understand that I shouldn't spend all of my time or let low performers dominate my energy and my time. You should spend your time with your high performers or people who are high potential. Another key area that sometimes goes neglected, and that is neglecting your own development. Because as you talk about that transition, the skills that you need to develop, sometimes you forget that you still have to work on yourself and you have to build skills, and that you have to make sure you understand, am I being the best coach? Am I being the best leader? Am I actually being a student of the craft? That oftentimes goes neglected. And one of the biggest items is not understanding the difference between spending your time on high impact activities versus just being busy. So one of the items how that works is, I don't know, you all may not have seen it, but there is a professor that is in front of his class. He has an empty jar. He takes that jar and he then drops golf balls in the jar. And he asks the class, is the jar full? Some people raise their hand. He then takes small rocks. He pours the rocks in the jar. Then he asks the class again, is the jar full? Sure enough, some more people raise their hand. He then takes sand, pours it in the jar to fill in the spaces, and then asks the class, is the jar full? And by then, the jar is full. But the real point he was trying to make is you should spend your time on the big rocks, the big things. Don't let the little things suck your energy. The other mistake I see new managers make is not understanding how to build a team. And the concept of, I got this from a book called The Energy Bus, and that is making sure you have the right people in the right seat on the bus. Sometimes there's a tendency just to go with who's been here the longest versus who has the skills, who has the behaviors, and who has the desires that you really want to have on your team. And the last component would be coaching versus telling. As a new manager, you think, oh, they should know what they're doing. Oh, they should know how to do it. And you kind of forget there is a component of coaching that needs to take place. I would say those are the kind of the big things I see are mistakes that newly minted managers make.
Yeah, those are all really, really tangible, really great advice. That, like, really good examples as well, Chris. I love that. And what you really bring up is this concept of, and you didn't explicitly say this, but this concept of micromanaging. When we talk about like big rocks versus little pieces of sand, like little pieces of sand that fill up time are things like checking emails, micromanaging other team members, trying to make sure that they did it exactly the way that you did it. I mean, ultimately, to your very first point, what got you here won't get you there. So that's the reason why a lot of organizations promote individuals in the first place. They think, oh, here was a great individual contributor. We're going to now promote them to manager. And
Correct.
you're promoted to manager, but what the company's hoping for is that somehow, some way, the things that you did really well as an individual contributor rub off on your direct report so they can perform more like you. But that almost never
It doesn't work that way, no.
It doesn't work that way at all. And what happens is I typically see one of two things happen. I see either one, a manager wants to be the cool, laissez-faire, I'm a cool person boss, so they don't micromanage, they don't do, the other things, they kind of delegate, but ultimately if work doesn't get done, they end up doing it for those team members. They're enablers. And that is a big mistake because you end up burning yourself out because you're working on nights and weekends because all you're trying to do is make up for all the work that your team isn't doing. And that's a form of micromanagement in and of itself, because if you don't trust your team enough to trust them with the tasks that they've been doing, and then you make up for that poor performance anyways, they're going to say, you know what, my boss has got it. It's cool. I don't have to worry about that. Or I see the other switch happen where they are constantly on their people to get this work done. They're hounding them. And oftentimes I see a lot of these bad behaviors metastasize and just get even worse because the organization puts a lot of pressure on them. They say, whoa, whoa, whoa. John, let's just say, we promoted you to this management position because we wanted your team to perform more like how you did as an individual contributor, and your team is performing now worse. What's going on? Did we make a bad decision giving you this manager position? And now John's like, oh my gosh, here was my chance. I cannot blow this. So now I got to be on everybody. But it just stresses John out, stresses the team out. People are going to leave, and it makes the whole situation worse. Sometimes I think what a lot of people don't realize as they enter into managerial roles is that companies will do things unintentionally, but they will do them, that will almost create stumbling blocks for a manager to get to where they need to be.
Yes, and you brought up a couple key things before we leave this topic, and one of them is avoiding having difficult conversations soon enough to correct the behavior. And the other thing, as a newly minted manager, not proactively seeking feedback. To your point, by the time that somebody is coming to them to say, hey, Garrett, you're falling down, they should have been asking for feedback 2 months ago. But instead now they're getting, how can I put it, the feedback, and now they are in trouble. So then, like you said, now I'm under more stress. So now I micromanage even more, which doesn't help.
Well, and I think there's a really key thing within all of this that I think a lot of, it almost creates a domino effect, but it shouldn't create a domino effect, is if your boss is a poor leader to you, that does not give you permission to be a poor leader to your team and your direct reports.
Correct.
Because to your point about that feedback, what I see so often, and it's incredibly frustrating, is that let's say a director only gives feedback to a manager during the performance review. Maybe it's a biannual performance review. Every 6 months you do it, and you as a manager thinking, I'm good, everything's going great, blah, 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 blah.
Then it's not, yeah.
Walk in, I'm doing the thing, and then you're like, cool, I'm ready for my bonus, ready for, some positive feedback. And your boss, the director, who has not told you a word that they've been frustrated at you this entire time, now comes to you and is like, hey, John, you've been really dropping the ball in area A, B, and C. I really was hoping that you would be making some better strides in those areas. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how this goes over the next 6 months. John, who's now shell shocked, is like, what the heck? Why didn't you tell me this immediately? I've been behaving this way this entire time. Why did we wait for 6 months at a performance review for you to give me this information? And so what often happens is that manager, John in this case, goes to his team and does the exact same thing. He either gets on them for not performing the way he wants them to perform, and or waits to the performance review to give them the feedback. And it's so passive aggressive, and it's really frustrating, and that's a really bad habit for a leader to adopt, even if that's what was done to you.
Yep, you should, like you said, you shouldn't replicate it.
Yeah, Totally.
Now, you can learn from a bad boss too, but what you should learn is not to repeat those behaviors.
That's right. Yeah. We have a lot of people in our program, they're students, and I mean, I haven't been a student in a long time, but I know in college I had friends that were in fraternities, and you'd see these things happen to the freshmen in fraternities called hazing. And
Yep.
when I was a freshman,
They repeat the cycle.
these freshmen were like, I would never treat anybody like this. This is such crap. I can't believe they're treating me like this, blah, 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 blah. And then you get to your sophomore and junior year, and now they're not freshmen anymore, and they're doing the same thing to the freshmen. And you're like, what happened to our conversation last year? Like, what changed? It's like, well, I put up with it and went.
It was done to me.
It was done to me, so now I got to dish it back. And I just think to myself, that is not right, and that's not what should happen in leadership either. Even if you get a poor leader, you've got to be able to stop the cycle of bad leadership, because ultimately it's not going to serve you for your next roles and future roles, because you can be successful. Like, you can somehow achieve the numbers that you need to hit in spite of being a bad leader, not because of you being a bad leader.
Correct. Totally agree.
So, Chris, next question here. What was the biggest mistake you made as a leader? Like, tell me a little bit about your story. How did you learn from that mistake as a leader? How did you get to where you're at today?
Got you. The biggest mistake I made when I first got into management was believing that all I have to do is work hard and I'm going to get noticed and I'm going to get promoted because I got my manager badge, and because I have the best numbers or top stats, that I'm going to be noticed and I'm going to have opportunities to be promoted. And I was at a company in the telecommunications industry, and ironically, I was not getting promotional opportunities, even though I was a top performer. What I learned years later, not necessarily in the moment, was the concept of being politically savvy. Politics to me at that time when I was young had a very negative connotation. And I thought it was all about backdoor deals, going behind people's back, nefarious activities. And it wasn't until years later that I realized here are all the things I was doing wrong, meaning I wasn't networking. I wasn't building coalitions. I wasn't making connections. I wasn't able to effectively influence whether I had position power or I didn't have position power because I didn't tap into those networks or tap into opportunities to interact with people who were power brokers or people who were influencers. I wasn't thinking in those terms and thinking that way. I just thought, work hard, got the best stats, dadgummit, I'm going to get promoted.
Let's talk about that for a second. I think that is so powerful. Actually, I think that is probably one of the most powerful messages that a college student or even a young professional can hear, because I think most people held your previously held belief of like, politics are bad, I don't want to politic, let me just have my work speak for itself and I'll naturally get recognized. No, that is not how it works in the workplace. And I talked about this in another workshop, but what is focal is causal, meaning what people see is what they perceive. And so if the right people see you doing the right things, they're going to perceive that. You could be on your phone, dicking around doing not the work itself, but out of sight, they can't tell. But when you are in sight and you're doing the work and you're making things happen, you are much more likely to be looked on favorably than someone who's trying to be a wallflower, not be seen or whatever. Because I think that's really, I don't know. I think what you're describing is so really critical. And so I guess let me ask the students a question real quick. Students, go ahead. In the comments section, what is something that you can do to play the politic game properly when you enter the workforce, or now that you have entered the workforce, how you can do this at your own organization? Who do you need to impress? Who are somebody that you want to impress, and how do you plan on doing that? So I guess in the question, it's two-parter. Who do you want to impress, and how are you going to impress them within your organization? Post in the comments. It's something that I don't think we talk often enough about, but gosh, it is so critical to getting and moving up the ladder.
Sure. I'll first start with educating yourself about what politics is and what it is not is the first key. Because like you said, if you come into it like I did, you just completely blow it off. You don't engage. You have such a negative connotation. So if you educate your first and you understand what people who are over political, if you understand what being over political is versus under political, it will help you. So, an example, over political person is a person that tries to influence without credibility, that show and no substance. And someone who's under political is the person who believes, just put my nose, to the grindstone and my work will speak for itself. So the first person you need to impress, obviously, is your immediate manager. So what I like to tell people when I would coach them is make sure you do your day job the best you can first, because when you do that, that kind of gets you in the conversation, that gets you in the game when you make sure you do your day job right.
Yeah, I could just see like a boss coming up to you and be like, Chris, I love your enthusiasm for wanting to be president of this one employee resource group, but you need to do your job better first.
Yes.
And for students out there, an employee resource group is is a group for people who want to bring attention or awareness just to people within a certain dynamic within the organizational hierarchy. And it's really great for networking and bringing a lot of people together. It's great for culture. But if you're not doing your job great, you should not be the leader of said employee resource group.
Yeah. So if you are, in essence, if you take care of that first part of doing a good job, that gets you in the conversation, then the next part, and that's your boss. The next thing you should be doing is understanding what successful people in your organization do to be successful. What are some of the skills and some of the that they've demonstrated that you can either learn or replicate yourself, so that you can get things done in the organization yourself. So very powerful thing when I took that course, when I say reframe your perspective about politics, the facilitator asked us the question. The question is, as a manager, if one of your employees comes to you and says they want to be promoted and you can help them by championing their cause, by mentoring them, by hooking them up or making a connection with someone, do you think that's a good thing? And everybody rolls their head, yeah. And his point was, that's being politically savvy, meaning you are identifying how to get things done, how to help people within your organization. So day one, obviously get things done, like you said, Garrett, and understand who you need to impress. Part two is then tapping into, a resource network, understanding how things get done, understanding the skills that are needed to that successful people in your organization have demonstrated. And then the next part is kind of understanding how to navigate, how to maneuver, establish credibility, how to influence and hone those skills to help you be a positive influence.
I like it. So, Chris, how can eager employees effectively communicate their desire to lead people or projects?
Very good question. And I'll start with a personal story. I wanted to get promoted. I was a top performer. Went into my manager's office and in essence said, I'm not understanding why I'm not getting promoted. and I want to be promoted. And I received some of the most challenging, toughest feedback I've had experienced in my professional career to that point. My manager said to me, he said, Chris, you're an abundant producer. You get things done, you meet deadlines, you get deliverables, but you don't help the entire team. Whoa. You don't help your peers. You get things done individually as a supervisor, but you don't necessarily help your peer group get better. He also said, being your manager, You aren't necessarily understanding my pain points and understanding the pain points of our business unit to then provide solutions to help the business unit. And you aren't necessarily proactively taking on additional responsibilities with the intent of not getting something in return versus volunteering to get exposure, right, to get something in return. And that was very tough feedback, particularly since I was a top performer. So after I got that feedback, I had to reassess. I had to, suck it up. And I realized, okay, here are some things I need to understand and I need to do. One of the first things is, and I would say this to the group, is first, understand what your boss needs from the team for the team to be successful so that you can have an impact on it. Then once you do that, you assist your peers, you assist your manager, and then you begin to have an impact beyond your individual role, beyond your individual responsibilities. Then what happens is now you get noticed for being a positive change agent, for being a difference maker, for adding value to the business and your business unit, which then becomes a much more powerful conversation when you sit down with your boss and say, now I'd like to talk to you about opportunities. The other piece. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Chris, what a powerful bit of feedback your boss just gave you. I mean, that's something, when you meet with a friend and your friend's like, oh, my company sucks, or my boss sucks, or I'm such a high performer, blah, 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 and I'm not getting this promotion. It's such BS, blah, 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 blah. Like, we all hear that. We have friends that are like that, and they don't understand why. And, as a friend, we don't really understand the context of the situation. So as an empathetic friend, we're like, oh, man, that sucks, whatever. We don't know the context. But, like, good for you to actually hear the feedback for what it was and actually be able to adjust your behavior accordingly, because that can go in one of two directions. It can go in this company sucks, I'm leaving, I'm going to take my high performance elsewhere. But in reality, you took it as like, dang, he's right or she's right. I am missing a key ingredient to my performance, that I'm only looking at what I can control in my purview, but I'm not looking at how I can control my attitude, my behaviors to help other people. Because leadership isn't just about you showcasing your performance. It's also about helping others perform better as well.
Correct. And then the most important thing I'd like to impress upon, when you share this and when you talk to people is you're always interviewing. You don't interview for a promotion when you're interviewing for the promotion. That was, along with the feedback that my manager gave me, that was a, how can I put it, an emotional, to hear that you've been interviewing since orientation. What? What do you mean I've been interviewing since orientation? I didn't even know I wanted to be a manager, right? But it is so true. And you forget that you are, particularly if you want to get into leadership or you want to move within the organization, you're always on display. You're always interviewing. And don't make the mistake of waiting to interview till you want to be promoted.
Man, that is so powerful. That's so true. So let me ask the students a question. What can you do to keep that mentality of I'm always interviewing top of mind when interacting with anybody in the workplace? Post in the comment section. I'd love to know what you're going to do to keep that top of mind. Because, like, sure, everyone has a tough day or whatever, but, like, we must know the gravity of the situation. Like, people don't give us that grace if we're having an off day. If, like, we have this one chance to be in front of the CEO of our organization and we're just having a real crappy day and we're either, hanging out behind the back and where no one can see us, or, we're visibly distraught or frustrated in front of our CEO, like, our CEO is going to perceive that in a way, whether it may be good or bad, doesn't really matter. And so if we don't have an always interview mentality on, we are probably going to be doing ourselves a major disservice. So students, post in the comment section, what can you do to make sure that you're keeping in mind that you're always interviewing?
Sure. And then the other last part of feedback before we leave this particular question, that is also in the moment when you do sit down with your manager, I would also like to put something in the back of your head to say, instead of going in and say, I want to be promoted, ask, how can you have a greater impact? Because if you ask, how can I have a greater impact, then you will get that feedback that may eventually help you get promoted. Because when you ask, how can I have a greater impact, you may be told about a project. You may be told about an initiative. You may be told about behaviors that you need to change. And therefore, all of that can then lead to ultimately what you want is to get promoted. And also be careful. Up isn't always the best direction for you right then. Sometimes it's a lateral assignment. Sometimes it's a temporary assignment. Sometimes it's a special project, and you might find out that your passions, your competence, and your skills are more aligned with acquiring more skills before you become that leader. So also have an open mind.
No, great point. Yeah, if you're thinking to yourself, I'm a software developer, I'm only going to be a software developer, that is my role within an organization, well, then you're seriously hamstringing yourself, because there's so many departments that could utilize your skill sets. And if you can develop a keen understanding of finance or marketing or operations or something like that, like you could parlay your skills that you've learned in college to a totally new path where there's a lot of upward mobility. But if you think to yourself, I'm stuck behind my boss who's relatively young, doesn't appear like he or she's leaving anytime soon, well, then you're going to have a victim mentality, and that's just your own situation. But if you take those horizontal opportunities, those lateral opportunities to learn skills or meet with and work with other people across the organization, the company would much rather hire an internal person than an external person. So if you're working in one department and you feel like, man, I don't have any upward mobility here, your company is much more likely to hire you at a different department if there's an opening, even if it's not an elevated opening, than they are to want to bring in someone from the outside, because you already understand the culture of the business.
Exactly.
So, Chris, what resources do you subscribe to help you improve your performance as a leader?
Sure. I want to kind of bucketize this for everyone in thinking about this question between your approach to development should be a combination of experiences, relationship and feedback, and then courses, certifications, and programs. So if you kind of bucketize your personal growth and development in that fashion, you can be very methodical and very deliberate in what you do. So when it comes to the kind of the experience bucket, that's where you take on special projects, you volunteer for things, you ask for additional work, you ask for additional assignments. And then also in what you do on a daily basis is going to provide you experiences for growth and development. When you kind of look at the relationship and the feedback bucket, this is something that it took a while for me to understand and learn. And that is, many companies have, in essence, a list, if you will, lack for a better phrase, or a program of individuals that have been identified as high potential individuals for mentoring, individuals for additional projects and assignments. Seek out the opportunity to find out about that list and to get on that list. And when I say list, I don't literally mean list. I just mean every organization has a talent management approach. And you want to be in that talent management approach, meaning an individual that is considered that we want to put in this talent management. Also, understanding the difference between a mentor and a sponsor. So a mentor is someone who is going to give you advice and consult, but not necessarily do the work for you, that you can, bounce ideas off of. A sponsor is someone who is going to say, Chris, there's an opportunity in another department or another area I'm going to put your name in the hat, or I'm willing to put your name in the hat because I feel confident that I know your strengths, weaknesses, and your abilities, that I'm willing to put my name behind yours. So, seek to be in or obtain a mentor in the company you currently work for, or you may have to go externally.
Yeah.
The next bucket, go ahead.
I was going to say, and Chris, you were also in our executive mastermind group, so you get as well.
Yes. And then when you think of education, coursework, part of that is also if you have an opportunity to complete assessments. So AIM, DISC, Extraordinary Leadership.
Strengths Finder.
Strength Finders, Standout. Standout is, a book, and then you do the assessment, and then you read about the different competencies that they identified. So if you have an opportunity to do some type of assessment or participate, I would always advise people to do that. It's not a panacea, it's not a silver bullet, but it can provide you directionally, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and what may be your blind spots. Obviously, books. I can give you list of books. Leadership Secrets of Colin Powell, Standout, Good to Great, Dream Manager. There's a lot of books, and everything. It's just a matter of you taking the opportunity to learn. LinkedIn, joining industry groups also will help you. Tools and things I use to help me. I happen to be in the contact center and leadership and customer service space. So anytime I have opportunity to join groups on LinkedIn, I'm a member of, obviously, mastermind group here. So that definitely helps me share and hear other leaders have similar issues in their industry, in their company, that I learn from, which is very powerful. And I would suggest that to anyone. And the last one...
Real quick, I want to ask the students a question real quick. Post in the comments section, what is a group that you would like to join? Post in the comments. I'd love to learn more about it. But what are groups that you would like to join, or affinities or entities within your professional sphere that you would like to get involved with? Post in the comment section. I'd love to learn more.
Last item I'll give everyone food for thought that has been helpful to me, and that is to develop and curate a personal board of directors. That personal board of directors would be a spiritual advisor, a financial advisor, a professional advisor, a trusted friend or a truth teller, a family or a friend, a cheerleader, a coach. And when you begin to build and work on and curate your board of directors, at any chapter you are experiencing in your life, you can call upon a particular board member to help you. So when I used to speak to supervisors in my organization, I used to tell them that when I want to talk to a cheerleader, I call my mother, because I know she's on Team Chris. I don't care what's going on, I don't care what's happening. That's my cheer. She's going to cheer me on. Now, when I need pure, raw, unadulterated, this is how it is, I call my father. He's not going to sugarcoat it. He's going to say, I think that's stupid. Don't do that. Whatever it may be. But the key is you use your board of directors, as you need it. I have a few people in my previous working careers that I can call. One of them, she's in HR, so I'm experiencing an HR issue. I call her up and she'll tell me, you might want to talk to your HR about this, you might want to look at this, you might want to look at that, and don't forget about the legal implications of if you do Y. Great. I'm able to use her and tap into that expertise to help me deal with something I'm dealing with at the time. So I would definitely say invest in your personal board of directors to help you grow. And also become a student of leadership, if that's the route you want to go. And be a student of your industry. A lot of times I see, particularly with people coming up the ranks, they go to work, do a good job, but they really don't understand the company they work for. Like, how does your company make money? what makes your company different in the marketplace, and then how do you go back and coach and educate your team members if you don't understand it yourself?
Yeah, that's a great one. No, that's super funny. And it's interesting because it ties even back to your original point of like, you can't just go to your boss and just say like, hey, I want to get a promotion. It's like, do you know what we do or how we like the business is going like this? You're like, my career path needs to be going like this. And it's like, well, unfortunately, we don't have the promotional opportunities for you. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's not a you thing; it's a business thing, and the business is not going up like a skyrocket or going up like a rocket. So, you're like, yeah, you gotta be aware of what is going on around you. But Chris, this has been an awesome interview. So I know the students are probably going to be doing a lot of things on LinkedIn. How can students connect with you or learn more about you and your work?
Well, sure. I am on LinkedIn. You can look me up, Chris Hammond. And obviously connect with me. I don't know, Gary, if you want to provide any of my email or information.
Yeah, there's the email, but I think like, are you okay if the students send you a connection request on LinkedIn?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would imagine you'll probably get a handful of LinkedIn requests from this. I know a lot of students are building up their LinkedIn pages and their connections, and I'm sure they would love to be connected with you. But anyway, students, thank you for your time. Chris, thank you for your time. This was a great recording, and I look forward to seeing you all in our next workshop.